pleasure of hosting the final session of the day on the Power Sector Benefit Trust Member and Family Assistance Program. But first, I've really enjoyed the time together today. The presentations have been rich with lots of content that we can all take away to use. Beverly talked to us about getting back to basics in her presentation near the end there. This ties directly to our theme for today, locking down our safety culture. We need to focus on our basics and focus on our safety culture, and let's stick to that. And we heard some of that at the end of Beverly's presentation as well. Stick to the rules you can rely on. Joining me are Barb Walsh, Account Executive with Homewood Health, and Craig Batty. Craig is here today as the Member Field Support Person for the Member and Family Assistance Program. Janet Stewart will moderate our question and answer period a bit later in the presentation. First, I'm going to start off and take a few minutes to talk to you about the overall program. And then we're going to move on and have Barb do a presentation on Homewood Health, and then on to Craig. At the end of that, we'll do a panel discussion amongst the three of us, and then come back to an open question and answer period for the end. So starting off, it's important to sort of focus how this all connects. Safety is a big part of our everyday lives, not just in the workplace, but in every aspect of the world that we live in. In the 21st century, we have come to understand that you can't say safety without including health, and you can't say health without including wellness. These terms have become synonymous. Most of you will be familiar with the term Power Sector Benefit Trust. Oversight of the trust is through 5 trustees. 4 of the trustees are appointed by CUSW and 1 is appointed by PWU. These members oversee the administration of the plan on behalf of plan members and their families. Their role includes the practice of support services, the purchase of support services from carriers and partners as are required to respond to member needs. So that's something we do on a regular basis. We do it annually, we review, and we select the partners that we want to work with. From that point then, we move forward. So these are our first group is the group that most of you will know as Canada Life. And we have a group benefit plan as described in the booklets. You can go to the website at psbt.ca for more information on all of these topics, but you can find there the booklet that outlines the group benefit plan. The plan is funded through employer contributions through your collective agreements. A variety of coverages apply to our daily lives, like drugs, dental, extended health care, life insurance, LTD, and contribute to the overall well-being of the plan members and their families. In addition to the contributions made to the trust to support the group benefit plan, there is an additional 5 cents per hour contributed to the trust to support the Member and Family Assistance Program. Through the Member and Family Assistance Program, we are in a position where we focus on specific areas rather than more general that provide additional supports that are needed as we meet life's challenges. Back in 2016, we circulated a survey. And in that survey, the members provided feedback on areas that needed greater attention through the MFAP. Since then, the building of the Member and Family Assistance Program has really become a work in progress, and we go forward and we continue with that. One area that we have and have had for a number of years is Homewood Health. It provides MFAP with services, including general counseling services up to 20 appointments as needed. They also provide more focused care in areas including depression plus and trauma care, something that post-traumatic stress disorder that Dan spoke about in his presentation. We will hear more about these services from Barb shortly. We also have member and field support for MFAP, and it's a recent addition to the program. Craig Batty is spending on average 2 to 3 days per week on MFAP, supporting members in a variety of needs, from drug and alcohol to mental health, to disabilities, and to return to work assistance where required. In response to the need for access to in-house treatment service providers in different geographic areas, we have now developed a list of 10 treatment center options that have agreed to work with us across the country. In addition to that, extended registered psychology support is another recent addition to the program. The trustees have agreed to authorize up to $250,000 annually from the MFAP fund for members in need who require the services of a registered psychologist beyond that covered by the group benefit plan. This is something that we've added because we've recognized, and in 2019 at this conference, we talked about the increased stresses of mental pressure on individuals and the need for greater programs. We've also recognized that members in crisis need additional help than what has been available in the plan. We also have the Ashton Tuck Special Assistance Fund. This was added with the passing of Ashton Tuck in honor of his dedication to helping those in need. The trustees have agreed to authorize up to $50,000 annually from the MFAP funds to support plan members who are experiencing hardship in their lives. Craig will speak to the details of these 3 components a little later in this segment. And finally, at the request of the trustees, Alliance Learning launched a series of courses over a number of years, and Beverly referred to those, she helped with some of them, that has turned into a treasure trove of health and wellness information we call relationships in the workplace. The relationships in the workplace, every member and their family can access information put together by a combination of health professionals, but as Kodu pointed out, and members of the plan that connect directly with our reality. So it's important to recognize that all of those courses that we participate in, or that we build and distribute, were all created by professionals, but all had input from individual members in creating them. That gives us that sense of ourselves as we look at the courses and how they relate to us. To ensure that the members are aware of the supports that are available through the MFAP, the trustees are going forward and have approved a communication plan that will take a tour through these sections described in detail and presented to all of the members. Stay tuned, you'll see that coming out. Some of you may have noticed in the last year, we did a similar tour through the Power Sector Benefit Trust site, outlining the benefits being provided by Canada Life so that we can actually start to get members participating more directly and taking advantage of the types of benefits that are available to them, including things like updating their dependents and other things that we can now do online that we could not do before. Today, we are focused on providing you with some of the tools that you need as health and safety representatives and advocates in supporting the members in your workplace and the community around you. So that's a big part of this. We want to make sure that we've got all of these issues that we've identified, and pandemic is not the beginning of all of the stress and mental strain that we're going. This is a part of our evolving economic and other structures that we're involved in. So we have to make sure that that we're getting the messaging out to everyone about what we have put in place and why it is in place and how you can access it and how it responds to the needs of the members. So, the Health and Safety Committee did have a number of these discussions, which has led to this component being part of the conference today. So with that said, we're going to move on, and we'll look at introducing our first speaker. As I already introduced Barb, so Barb is going to start us off with a more detailed view of the contribution, and I use that word properly, that Homewood Health makes to our program. We've worked with Homewood Health for quite some time, and they do bring a very valuable resource to the overall program of MFAP. So we want to include some of that, and we'll come back to talk a little bit more about how you access that, but Barb's going to cover that as well. So Barb, over to you, and away we go.
Thanks very much, Joe, and thanks for having me today. So I wanted to talk really briefly about some of the services that are available through Homewood Health. I might call it an assistance program or a member and family assistance program, but not just through the Homewood Health piece is what I'll be talking about. So it's just one component of your full member and family assistance program. So that's what I'll be talking about. So when might you want to call Homewood Health? And you can also email us. You can chat with us through the Power Sector Benefit Trust site, Homewood Health site, which we call HomeWeb. So I'll talk a little bit about our services, because sometimes I think people think that we are just a crisis support, and certainly that's a component of what we do, but there's lots of other great health and wellness and sort of prevention resources that we have available to yourselves and to your family members. So we are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You will always get a live person. We will go back to doing in-person counseling when it's safe to do so in Canada, re-COVID. We also have telephone support. We have video counseling, which is like Skype over a secure network. We have email as well as chat counseling, which is in real time. Lots of ways to access the services to fit your busy schedules. There will be appointments at times that are most convenient for you. We also have what we call first call care, which is immediate support. You don't need to be in crisis. If you happen to have some time, you wanted to speak to a counselor, you can call us the 1-800 number at any time. We are multilingual, so we have counselors that speak about 150 different languages. So if there's a language that yourself or family member is more comfortable speaking to a counselor in, you can certainly request that. And it covers anybody that's covered under your trust benefits. So typically, you know, spouse, partner, kids. You can look at your benefits package if you want to know who's covered. And family members can access services themselves as well. They would just need to let us know that your benefits are through Power Sector Benefit Trust. And if they do call in and they give your employer, so if they say, you know, Hydro One, we can still look up that information. And then that'll allow us to ask additional questions as well around, you know, does the employee work for or have a union or a trust? And they'll be able to access services as well. And through the trust, it is up to 20 sessions with a counselor. So I'll talk a little bit about our counseling services. It's short-term solution-focused counseling. All that really means is you would go to see a counselor towards a resolution of whatever issue you've gone to counseling for. As sometimes happens, you might have a bunch of things that you're looking to focus on. They'll sort of help you to sort of focus on one thing that's maybe most pressing, and then resolve that issue. And then maybe you want to sort of call us back to access services for additional issues that have maybe come up during counseling or something else that you were looking to focus on. And all of our counselors have at least a master's and at least 5 years of counseling experience. All the counselors that have worked with us have been working with us a really long time, have lots of experience, have lots of specialization. So if you're looking for something specific, you can certainly request that. And as does happen from time to time, if you find there just isn't a fit with the counselor, just call us back and we'll just set you up with somebody else, because getting you and your family members the help that they need is really what's most important. So depression care and trauma care, which Joe had talked about, is something that not every group has included, and it's a really fantastic program. So it's more longer-term cognitive behavioral therapy for more acute anxiety, depression, trauma, or PTSD symptoms available to yourself, your family members. The cognitive behavioral therapy model tends to be at least 12 sessions. It's quite intensive sort of therapy. And you don't need to request this. If you call us and you're looking for support around anxiety, depression, or trauma, or PTSD, we can sort of clinically assess what might be the most appropriate service for you at this time, or your family member at this time, whether that's depression care, trauma care, or that sort of short-term, what we call sort of member and family assistance program, short-term counseling, brief therapy, which is the most appropriate at this time. So we'll talk a little bit about our Life Smart coaching services, which is something that we have sort of in addition to counseling that people don't always know that we have. So new parent support, maybe you're going off on a mat leave, parental leave, or you're just returning to work, make sure that's a really smooth transition back to the workplace. Childcare and parenting, again, maybe you're just looking for questions. We have counseling around that. We have Life Smart if you're looking for questions. Maybe you have kids at home right now that are homeschooling. Maybe you have a picky eater at home. You're challenged with that. We also have a great childcare locator that's available, as I say, through your trust benefits site into the Homewood Health section. There is a childcare locator, and it's totally national. You put it in your postal code, the sort of services you're looking for: daycare, after school care, summer camps, provide you with a really quick and easy list of what's available in your area. Then elder and family care, so maybe you're caring for an aging parent or family member. Maybe you want to sit down with a family member to go over sort of long-term planning. You want to know sort of all of the information that you need to have available to you to have that conversation. We also have an elder care locator, also available through the website. Same idea as the child care locator. It's totally national. So if you have a family member that's in another province, for example, you put in their postal code the sort of services they're looking for: long-term care, in-home care, meal care, rehabilitation services, and you can really sort the search as well. So if you have a family member that has a medical need, you're looking for a long-term care facility, for example, that can accommodate that medical need, you can put that information in languages. It'll provide you with only the resources that are available in your family member's area that can accommodate that medical need, as an example. And it's just a really quick and easy place that you can find lots of great information. And then legal advice with a lawyer specialized in the area of law that you have inquiries about, in-person, video, telephone. It's advice, so it doesn't cover paperwork or representation. So if you need a will drawn up, for example, or a notary or representation in court, that's not covered through the Member and Family Assistance Program. However, we do have a referral service. So if you're looking for paperwork, representation, you can give us a call and we can provide you with a list of lawyers that specialize in that area. In your area, if you needed paperwork drawn up, as an example. And there is a discount off of the lawyer's fees if you do need paperwork representation. Depends on the area of law. You can always give us a call if you have questions about that. And legal advice and referral is available for all areas of law with the exception of employment law, but everything else is covered. And then relationship solutions, again, we have counseling, we have Life Smart. Maybe you're looking for communication techniques. It doesn't need to be a romantic relationship, could be a co-worker relationship as well. We have grief and loss coaching. Again, we have counseling. Maybe you have several different life transitions that are happening. You're just looking for some tips around that. We have stress support. So again, we have counseling. We also have lots of great stress reduction techniques and things like that. Nutrition counseling with a registered dietitian. They just work with you towards your goals. And then Jumpstart Your Wellness, which is wellness coaching. You get a book or a PDF book, and then you work towards a goal with a coach for whatever you've come to coaching for. Could be healthy eating, could be resilience. You can do that in conjunction with other services. We have a great health risk assessment that's available again through the site. You will ask you a few lifestyle questions, provide you a summary of your health. You could do that in conjunction with counseling or coaching if you wanted to do that. And then we also have smoking cessation. We have counselors, we have coaches, just depends on the sort of services that you're looking for. And they would just work with you or your family member towards a goal. So whether that's to cut back on smoking or whether that's to quit smoking entirely. And then career planning could be time management, could be stress management. Maybe you've moved into a new role, you're looking for resources around that. We also have aptitude testing. So maybe you have kids that are graduating from high school, post-secondary education. They can fill out a questionnaire, go over the sorts of things that they might enjoy based on their skills and abilities. And then pre-retirement planning. So it's more around the emotional piece. So you have financial support through the trust. For sort of financial planning around retirement. This is more around what do I want to be doing? What do I want my retirement lifestyle to look like? When is the best time for me to retire? And sort of start to get you thinking about what that's going to look like and make sure it's a really smooth transition out of the workplace for retirement. And then shift worker support. So maybe you work shifts, you have family members that do, could be nutrition, could be sleep. Again, there's that whole social and emotional piece. As well as right now, parenting and homeschooling and all of those things provide you with some support and tips around some lifestyle as well. So I talked a little bit about our online services. We have a great health and wellness library as well. You can access that through your trust members site through Homewood Health. We also have an external website, which is called homeweb.ca, HOMEWEB.ca. And your family members can register there. So if they don't access services through your trust site, as an example, they can go there, put in a unique username and password. And it doesn't need to be a work email address. They can use a personal email address, and then they can access all of these resources available to themselves as well. And the health risk assessment, which I had mentioned. We also have online courses, which I'll talk about. The busy family, the child care locator, the elder care locator, lots of great information, really quick and easy to access through your trust site or through homeweb.ca for your family members. As well as online courses. So we have 20 different courses, quick and easy to complete. They're kind of fun. They have videos, some of them have podcasts and things like that. We're always updating them. They're created by psychologists. And then once you successfully complete the final quiz, there is a certificate of completion that you can print off. Lots of great topics. Resilience and take control of stress is always popular, but definitely has been popular the last year. Take control of your money, responsible optimism. And then if you're in a people leader role, we have resources available to yourselves as people leaders as well. So privacy and confidentiality, probably the most important thing. Please know our service is completely private, completely confidential. We are an independent third party from the trust and from the Canadian Union of Skilled Workers. We are not legally allowed to provide your information or your access to the services without your written consent. Some ways we protect confidentiality. We wouldn't leave a message if it wasn't okay. Your clinical records are kept in our locked facility and there's no name on them. There's a completely separate location that has your name and a number, and then that number is on all of your clinical records. And then in terms of reporting, so we will report very high level information back to specific individuals for the Power Sector Benefit Trust, just so that they know the service is being utilized. But we would not, and we are not legally allowed to provide enough information that they would know who has accessed services. So please know, totally private, totally confidential. No one will know that you've accessed services. And the only exceptions to privacy and confidentiality, and this is with any medical records in Canada, is if children are at risk, if you are at risk of harming yourself or others, or if your records are subpoenaed by a court of law, and those are the only exceptions. And then really quickly, what happens when you call or email us, or you can chat with us through HomeWeb as well, which I mentioned is through your trust site, or for family members, homeweb.ca. When you call, we'd ask for your confidential information, name, address, what benefits you're covered through, if it's a family member, where your benefits are, and then their relationship to you, so that we would know that they're covered for services. We'll ask a little bit about what you're calling about, just so we can set you up with somebody that specializes in that area. And then, as I mentioned, at a point in time that's most convenient for you, if you happen to have your phone out, your calendar out, we can schedule something while you're talking to us at a time that's most convenient, or we can have a counselor call you back to schedule an appointment as well. And as I previously mentioned, we also have immediate support. So if you're looking for support 24 hours a day, you can give us a call for support as well. And that's all I had. I will, I think, hand it over to Craig. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Barb. And we'll just let Craig, yeah, I think you're on mute still. You're good to go.
Yep. It's technology. Sometimes I get stuck on it. So. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Craig Batty. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a CUSW member since 2001, and I am the Family Member Assistance Coordinator. Supporting members in need with addiction, recovery, mental health, return to work, and assistance where required that's related to MFAP, and that includes all power sector benefit trust members, the CUSW members, the PWU members, and any affiliates that we would cover. I also help sometimes we have members have difficulty navigating the Homewood Health program, and I assist them doing that. And I give advice also to workplace representatives with the services that we have. Next slide. And one more slide. So services covered under MFAP, again, navigating the Homewood Health system, addiction recovery and access that suits the member's needs. And this is done confidentiality, extended registered clinical psychologist support. This is outside of what Homewood offers. And again, it's done through with confidence. And return to work assistance. If a member has gone through any of the above situations and they require a return to work plan, I would work on that. And I coordinate with the Ashton Tuck Special Assistance Fund. Next slide, please. If a member is having difficulty navigating the Homewood system, I would help the member find the right information and the services they need. Provide the workplace representatives with a contact information for Homewood Health. Also remind them that they do not use the employer's name, and they call and use the Power Sector Benefit Trust name as the service provider. That's one that our members get stuck on all the time, and sometimes they get turned down, and once that's done, then they're covered. I also inform Homewood Health, and particularly Barb, about issues that the members are having with the services, and follow up with the members that brought the issue forward, and Barb always lets me know when they have been resolved. Next slide. Over the past 3 years, this is an addiction recovery. Over the past 3 years, we have developed several good partnerships across Canada to assist our members with various respects to addiction recovery. We have outpatient counseling that if a person doesn't require residential, they can do it as an outpatient service. We have residential recovery program. Because of COVID, most of our service providers have developed an online stay-at-home recovery program that we've sent 2 members, and it's worked out very well so far. There's aftercare assistance. If you go into a recovery program, aftercare is one of the most important things that our members can get, because it keeps them going and keeps them on track with their recovery. Where required at this point, I would also help members with return to work program. Some of our employers have specific requirements for them to return to work, and I would work on helping the member through that and work with the employers to help ensure that the worker has that. And again, it's done with confidentiality. Next slide. This is an example of, a number of the centers that we use. Part of what in recovery that we found is that if the member is closer to home, recovery has a greater chance of success. Obviously, unless the home situation is the problem, and then we have a good deal of member or service providers that we can work on. And they are all across Canada. We have one in British Columbia, and we have one in Winnipeg, and the rest are predominantly in Ontario. Next slide. Crisis support and registered clinical psychologist. When a member is in crisis and requires personalized or family support beyond the $500 our group plan covers, we will arrange for extended support with the clinical registered psychologist. Power Sector Benefit Trust has authorized MFAP to cover $225 per hour for up to 20 visits for our members, and the total fund annually is $250,000. A member is required to submit a doctor's referral to the group benefit plan Canada Life, and if Canada Life approves the coverage up to the $500 limit, then we would continue with that service with that provider, so our members don't have to find another psychologist to help them with their issues. Provide the Canada Life covered those sessions, Canada Life will cover the cost of the extended, and the members can contact family member assistance at powersectorbenefittrust.ca for authorization of use of this. MFAP will pay directly to the registered psychologist as needed. They would just submit it to mfap.ca, and we would process that payment. And again, the confidentiality is the utmost importance in all of this. Next slide. Ashton Tuck. Ashton Tuck was a person who believed in assisting our members in need whenever possible. And for years, he did this with them. The fund was a step to honor Ashton and keep his legacy moving forward. We have the honor of continuing this in his memory. The fund was set up to help the group plan members who are experiencing hardship in their current situation and have no other resources that they can tap into for help. The members submit the request to the Ashton Tuck fund at powersectorbenefittrust.ca, and the committee reviews and assesses the hardship level. When the request is approved or not approved, depending on what happens, MFAP will arrange for the funds and provide the members with no exception or with no expectation of repaying the funds. What I am is the voice of the Ashton Tuck Fund, and I make no decisions, but I'm the person that would get in touch with our member and let them know whether they were approved or not approved, and that helps with the members, with our committee, keeping at arm's length from the members. And again, confidentiality is one of our utmost important things here, and we make sure that that happens. If anybody needs to get a hold of me through email, they can use mfap@psbt.ca, and they can also phone me at 905-251-5635. And that was pretty quick. That is the end of my presentation.
Yes, lot of material covered there.
Yes.
So the three of us are going to join together now, and thank you, Craig, for your presentation. We're going to come back to a few of the things you covered quickly there, and just have a little more detail with them, and the same with some of what Barb dealt with as well. So we have a bit of time, so we're not in a hurry, so we can make it like a bit of a conversation. So don't think you just have to give a quick answer to boom boom and we're out of here. So you Barb addressed a lot of the items there in a pretty comprehensive package of support systems that we have for members. And you pointed out that you can access them either through the Power Sector Benefit Trust or through your site directly. And I think that's important because as we get to going through and members can actually go in and look at what they have through Canada Life, what they have with you. And then we have recently added that MFAP section to the Benefit Trust. So those of you that have not had a chance to look at the website recently, go and take a look at those pages that were added to support the presentation that Craig has made. So Barb, back to you. One of the things we hear quite a bit is the access, and you covered it briefly, and that was on someone calls in on the 1-800 number. Could you give us a bit of an overview on what will happen when I call Homewood Health?
Thanks, Joe. So when you call in, and as I mentioned, if you're going through your trust website, there's also a function to chat with us through the box, and you can also email us, so that's helpful too. So we would ask for some of your confidential information, and as was in the chat from Janet as well. So it's really important to let us know that your benefits are covered through the Power Sector Benefit Trust. That helps us to really quickly and easily find you, or sort of make sure that we know what your coverage is through. And same with family members. So you can put this information sort of up on the fridge, let your family members know that it's available, let them know that they can call anytime, and let us know that they're covered through the Power Sector Benefit Trust as well. And then we take some of your confidential information. So name, address, phone number that you can be reached at. Can we leave a message? Sometimes we'll ask what your job role is and things like that, just to get a little bit more information. Or of course, if you're a member versus a family member, and then also what you're calling about. So we can set you up with whoever is most appropriate for your services as well.
Okay, thank you. As we're going through this chat, Janet Stewart is monitoring the chat. So if anyone has questions that we don't cover off, please put them in the chat. And Janet's going to come in a little later and lead us through those questions. Barb, I'll ask you to just elaborate a little bit more on what you were talking about there. And that is, you spoke about they'll ask you who you are and what your role is. Could you give us a little more, because we have a number of in the room that would be on the front end of issues dealing with members, and that sort of role of getting advice and the role of the leader, as you call it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll, of course, to understand coverage for your benefits, we would ask if you're a member versus if you're a family member that's covered through the member. And then if you're calling for additional information, if you are a people leader, for example, sometimes it's helpful if you're looking for resources. So maybe something's happened in the workplace and you're just looking for sort of some information or resources as well. We also have a few resources available to support yourselves, in addition to some of the other ones that I already talked about for leaders. So sometimes it's helpful for us to know if you're a leader and calling in that capacity, I should say, because certainly you wouldn't necessarily need to disclose that you're a leader if you're calling for support for yourself as well.
Okay, so that it's one of the things we added because it gives just another resource if you're a a frontline person, whether you're a supervisor or whether you're a health and safety rep or a steward or someone who has an active role in one of the as an advocate or someone working on behalf of the members. That you do have some tips for people on how to deal with conflict and things of that nature, Barb. So.
Yes, yeah. So I will actually elaborate on that. So we have what we call our key person advice line, and it's no cost. It's included in the trust plan for every people leader. So if you are looking for a sort of a consultation with one of our clinical managers, more sort of around the mental health piece. So if you're looking for supporting members around those sorts of things, then you can call us. Again, it's 24 hours a day. It's through the regular line, and you can connect with one of our clinical managers around sort of the mental health aspects and get some tips and some resources to help support. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you very much, because I think that's really important for folks to understand, is that we do have that level of service there that you can phone in and get advice to help you deal with someone else's concerns without actually getting that rolled over into your own confidential information.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So Craig, looking at the role that has been created there by the trustees over the last year, why don't you just sort of give us a little walkthrough of working with someone, and then because one of the important questions is, how does a member get into a recovery program? So from your sort of first contact, maybe you could deal with, well, who would contact you, how would you get involved, and walk through the process to the recovery center.
So there's several ways that I would come in contact with the member. Sometimes a workplace representative would call me and find out what to do and how to get them through it. And then I would ask them to give them my number. Some of the employers, there's been an issue on a work site, and the member has been sent to have an evaluation done, and they would have a third-party evaluation done on what type of addiction they would have. Then they would contact me. I would ask the member at that point, with their permission, please send me the report from the third party. And then with the member, I would look it over and go over and evaluate what kind of service they would need. And there's a lot of them, they're complicated, and there's a lot of information that the employers want. They want them to go to face-to-face counseling. They may want them to get into a support group, and also go on. Some of them ask for a recovery home to go to. And then I've got a lot of our employers to add in there the online in-house that a lot of our service providers have gotten. Again, with their permission, I send that on to one of our service providers that's local. First of all, I do ask them if they want to stay local, because again, family support is sometimes paramount in the recovery process. And then I would arrange, and once they give me their permission, I would send it on to the service provider, and the service provider at that point would call the member and do their own assessment, and then they would let me know what happened, and then I would arrange for, if they need it, transportation. Some of our members in the north live in isolated communities, so I would arrange flights and things like that to wherever they need to go. The other way is sometimes members just, they know that I'm there, and they call me direct, and they ask for help. And so I get a bit of history, not very much, and then I would just ask them where they would like to go. They can choose where they like to go also. I mean, if they have a place that they would like to go, some of them do research online to the place that they want to go. I would evaluate that place before we send members, because we have gotten into a situation where the place wasn't the most reputable. They have flashy ads and they said all the right things, but it wasn't good for our members. So we do assess our service providers before we send anybody there, because I want to make sure, and our goal is to make sure the members get the best possible service and facility that we can find for them. And it's important for that. The other thing that could happen, we initially would cover between 30 and 35 days. And at the end, or I asked the service providers, within 2 weeks of the end, please let me know if there is a good reason why our member might need an extra 10 or 15 days. And they would give me an explanation, and we go ahead and approve that, the extended time. And then again, if they require transportation at the end of it, I would arrange for transportation and get them home. And then there's a bit of follow-up at the end, just to make sure if they need to go back to work, if they need a back to work program, I would work with them and their workplace representative to get them back to work.
Great. So let's talk about for a minute. So that's drug and alcohol and more what we've seen in the past. What we've added is the extended psychological help.
Yep.
And maybe, when someone is in psychological crisis, sending them to a recovery center is not going to be of any assistance to them. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do with the extended psychological support?
So typically our member would reach out to me, and they would be in distress. I would ask them to find a psychologist and ask them and make sure that they're a registered doctor of psychology. We want a PhD for that service. And then go and get go to the first visit, put it through Canada Life. And if Canada Life approves the payment, then I don't have to go back and research their psychologist at that point, because Canada Life has a very strict criteria for their psychologist. So that's good enough for us. And then they would contact me when that is done, and then I would just get them to send us the invoices if they would like to, or we could set up through the MFAP office a direct payment, and then the psychologist can just send us the invoice, and we would pay for the services of the psychologist. And then there's no stress on the member of worrying about how it's going to get paid, or do I have to pay it up front and then get it reimbursed, because there's time. And when members are in stress, one of the last things they need is more stress caused by a financial hardship. Of the $225 a week, or it could be a session, could have 2 or 3 sessions a week, we cover that. And most of the psychologists, that's fine with them. They understand who we are, and they're all good with it. So it's to help the members and reduce any stress that they might have too.
So for the audience, Barb, the services you're providing on counseling on the front end are some pretty good counseling supports as well, up to the 20 sessions on general counseling, and then you've got the depression care and the trauma care, which are very substantive programs as well. So, when you look at the words that you use, Barb, you use the words around like short-term counseling, and then what we've added to that is not providing a similar or the same service you're already providing. So maybe you could talk a little bit about where that line might be between what you're doing and Craig, what you're doing.
Yeah, so I always say that the sort of short-term counseling, although the depression care and trauma care is a little bit longer than sort of that short term, but the so the Homewood Health services that I talked about are maybe a good starting place. So if you're looking for resources, maybe that's wellness resources, maybe you're looking for information, maybe you're looking for sort of short-term counseling around something, and then if you're in need of, or you're sort of clinically assessed as needing sort of more longer-term support, whether that's mental health support, whether that's addiction support, then that's probably where a lot of the services that Craig is talking about would come in as well. So certainly it's great, and it's no cost to go through Homewood Health for all those services. So certainly utilize those. And then if you need something sort of in addition to that, then it's great to have all of the other amazing benefits that Craig has talked about as well.
Okay, we're down to our last 10 minutes, and I'm going to ask Janet if she's got some questions. But if one of the things I would like you both to touch on over the next little while is the confidentiality, that if someone's going to refer a person to you, what are their expectations so that they know that they're protecting the person they're referring, but also then the people that you're dealing with. So let's come back to that in a minute. We'll go to Janet. And, Janet, is there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the two questions that kind of piggyback on what Barb was just talking about. So it sounds like there are 3 levels of mental health support, and you guys can verify if this is correct. There are the 20 sessions that are up to 20 sessions available through Homewood Health. Another route is for someone to go to a registered psychologist, of which the benefit plan covers up to $500 of assistance or appointments. And how many appointments that is will depend on the rate that the psychologist charges. But then, Craig, you talked about if someone's working with a psychologist and they need to continue working with that psychologist, there may be extended support. So how would someone know if that would apply or not, or if they're just now on their own and they want to keep going on with that, working with that person?
Probably they have to look at the website. They wouldn't, that's one of the issues that we are having, is communicating that to our members, that is available to them, right? And it also, one of the things, it also has to have a prescription from a doctor or a referral from their family doctor to this psychologist, and that's the attached to the Canada Life portion of it. So we know at that point that it was a referral from a doctor, and like that eliminates that part of it. And if they require more visit, they would just contact me at the email address, and then I would make it happen.
Okay. Are there certain types of support where that may apply more than others? Like, does the person need to be in a particular type of crisis, or would it also apply to maybe marital counseling?
No, it's typically mental health. It's more on the more serious parts of mental health that we experience in our lives.
Okay. All right. Also on this topic, someone has asked, are the 20 sessions through Homewood Health, are they per topic or issue, or do they go by term or year? Like, when is there a reset button? And if so, when is the reset button?
So that's per year, I believe. And in terms of, I should have mentioned this before. So in terms of sort of the short-term solution focused counseling, which we talk about, the number of sessions per sort of issue that you go for might depend. So there might be, one situation where, you just need information and maybe 1 or 2 sessions or some resources, and, 1 or 2 sessions with a counselor might be suitable. And then there might be other situations, and a little bit about what Craig's talking about, where sort of longer term support might be required, or maybe 6 sessions or 12 sessions, or there's sort of the depression care and trauma care, which is sort of 12 to 20 sessions. Most issues can be resolved within that short-term model, but there may be some situations where longer-term support, as Craig had mentioned, sort of about 5% of situations like bipolar disorder, mood disorders, addictions, eating disorders, trauma, those sorts of things where longer term support might be required beyond what can be provided through Homewood Health.
Right. Craig, if I am watching someone spiral out of control, regardless of what my role is with that person, I might be a steward or health or safety rep, or I might just be a peer in the workplace, but I'm watching somebody crash. Can I call you and say, hey, you should call this person, or how's that work?
No, because what I would ask that person to do is if you could get that person to call me, because there's a confidentiality issue there that, that person shouldn't be talking to me about them. And how did I get that information? And again, sometimes if a person is in crisis, that's not going to go well for me, certainly for me, and maybe not for the person that I'm contacting.
Right. Okay. So, people talk, Craig. How do you keep it confidential?
Well, we, everything that goes on with me, once I get involved, I tell the health and safety rep or the steward that once I get involved with the member, I don't go back and discuss it with the health and safety rep. Everything is kept. If you didn't see these solar panels behind me, you'd see the creative filing system that I have. Everything is kept here at my home, in my home office. Nothing is kept at CUSW or at Power Sector Benefit Trust. And as far as payments go, I deal with one individual in the Power Sector Benefit Trust that arrange payments for anything. So there's only 2 people that have any knowledge of anybody that's going through our system, and anything that comes through with invoices only has initials on it. It doesn't have the person's name. I would know who it is, but as far as in the office, unless you could track down the initials, but that's a fair bit of effort to do that. No one would know.
Okay.
Okay, and Barb, on your side, is there any, I think you outlined your confidentiality issues already, I believe.
I feel like I could talk about confidentiality all day, but we don't have enough time. But but I will briefly say, so much about confidentiality. It's super important. It's the cornerstone of our business. We are accredited by the Council on Accreditation every 4 years, and they have very strict guidelines about confidentiality. All of our employees are required to do PHIPADA and PIPEDA and all of that sort of clinical records training every year. It depends on the province which training it is. And then again, all of our records are kept locked up. There's no names on them either. There's a confidential number, and then not all of those numbers are on the records. And only certain people in our organization can see clinical information as well. So I don't have access to any of that information. So it's very confidential. So we are not legally allowed to provide anybody's information without their written release of information.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're getting down to about our 1 minute. Janet, have you got any other questions there?
I do have one more question I have a few, but I'll ask this one.
Well, but I don't know if we're running on time or we're late, but
either Joe or Craig, you can speak to this one. It's clear that Homewood offers support to family members as well. Do the same supports apply to family members with respect to things like the Ashton Tuck Fund and the additional psychological support and the addiction recovery support and those things?
Craig, do you want to take that?
I can tell you that the addiction recovery only applies to our members and not their family. The Ashton Tuck Fund would be similar, and the psychology that we have given services to spouses in that respect. So the two I would say no, and the psychological yes.
Okay, so that where we run into a situation where the spouse is the one that we're trying to assist. There are programs available through Ontario that Craig can help coordinate with, but they would not be funded. We pay 100% of the cost up front, and we jump the queue as far as the provincial waiting system is concerned to get our members directly into care as soon as possible. We don't extend that to spouses and families.
We can get a member into services sometimes within 2 days of them contacting me. They could be entering into a program within 2 days.
It's a very good question, and one that's often raised.
Yep.
There are a few extra questions, but if anybody wants to head to the lounge afterwards, I believe Barb, Craig, and Joe are all going to go to the lounge, and we do have it set up so that we have some private rooms over there. If you wanted to meet one-on-one with any one of the three of them, we can make that happen.
Okay, thank you so much. Time goes by very quickly. I wanted to thank both Barb and Craig for coming out today, and they both have provide a lot of really good supports to us. Barb is our contact person if we had a crisis in the workplace, where we have a workplace incident or accident, and Homewood will actually send a crew out, persons out, to work with our members in terms of dealing with crisis happening in the workplace, such as a serious injury or God bless, a death. And then we provide that kind of extra service. We call it crisis care at Homewood. And so that is also another service that is provided and is available again. If you have a crisis in your workplace, you can reach out and that kind of service will be provided to you. And you can get that coordinated through Barb or through Craig or directly through MFAP. Okay, so with that as a close, I'm going to once again turn it back over to David. And thank you so much for your attention today, folks. Really appreciate it.